Yeah, hi everybody, Andrew Kerr from Network Migration Services again. There's been some reasonably positive announcements in the last sort of 48 hours by New Zealand, specifically the Right Honourable Jacinda Ardern. We seem to be getting some sort of commitment to a positive pathway for certain visa subclasses that are going to be allowed into New Zealand this year. We have sent out a mailer to clients and of course potential clients that we've been emailing, but this little video is really, we're just going to post this just to make sure that those of you who are not on our mailing list may have this information. So I'm going to be reading a few things. Some of it may affect you, some of it not, so please excuse me not looking at the camera the whole time. Just so I make sure I get things as accurate as possible. So there's still some slightly grey areas, but you know, clearly as and when we get those final information, I will update you on those as well. So as of February the 28th, the New Zealand INZ, New Zealand Immigration, are going to be starting to allow offshore candidates in. Now, from the February 28th, it's really not going to affect most of you, unless, of course, you're New Zealand residents or citizens, or Australian residents or citizens that are living offshore at the moment. And so I'm not going to really harp on what's happening on February the 28th in 3 weeks' time, because that's not going to affect most of you that I'm really sort of target marketing with this information at the moment. The one that will affect quite a few of you is Step 2, which is due to be launched on the 14th of March. And this is where it says fully vaccinated New Zealanders and other eligible travellers from anywhere in the world can enter New Zealand and self-isolate on arrival. There will be also the following changes to schemes and border exemptions. Working holiday schemes will reopen on a rolling basis. The income criteria for other critical worker border exceptions will be reduced to 1.5 times of the median wage in New Zealand. That ends up being $40.50 per hour, or a per annum salary of $84,240 for roles, of course, longer than 6 months. The requirement for other critical workers to demonstrate that the skills are not readily obtainable in New Zealand will be removed. And then the highly skilled family reunification border exception will be aligned with, again, 1.5 times the median wage, in line with, of course, the other critical workers applications as well. And what this means is that employers who have previously applied for and were denied border exemptions to get, of course, the candidates in, could reconsider their submissions, provided the position meets all the updated requirements, and all travellers must, of course, meet health and requirements before travel. So, you know, in sort of layman's terms, if I can say that, if you've already, I mean, we're already in the process of emailing you know, quite a few of our clients who we clearly felt would get border exemptions on the critical purpose visitors visa and didn't in the last period of time. And these, we're emailing them individually and asking us, them, of course, if the jobs are still available and if they're wanting to move forward with attempting another critical application, which will be easier, clearly, in the sense that the employer, the motivation or justification for employing you under the critical purpose schemes will actually be taken away. So we still have to prove you're the right person for the job, go through all of the necessary information that INZ will require, that the company has looked for the right candidate and they believe that you're the right candidate. They'll need to fill in a couple of forms, but taking away the need for the company to be working on critical projects, etc., is a big change, and it's a big plus factor change. The only issue, of course, will be that you would be, under those circumstances, you're going to need to be earning the $40.50 per hour, or the $84,240 per annum. But that is good news. So clearly we will work with any of the employers on that. As you're well aware, for those of you who know us and know the way we work, we don't charge the employers for any information we give them. We're happy to work, and we're happy to even help prepare an employer's application at no charge to the employer at all, because of course we're working on behalf of our clients and candidates. Step 3 is happening on the 13th of April. Temporary visa holders currently outside of New Zealand and who have a valid visa can enter New Zealand if they still meet the visa requirements. Up to 5,000 international students can enter New Zealand for semester 2. Workforce class exemptions and events and government-approved programs and lists will be extended and updated as needed, and clearly we'll keep you in the loop on that one. More details will be provided at a later stage, and we will, of course, supply those to you by way of general emails and, of course, this usual blog that I'm doing when I get information. And then step 4, from July 2022, borders will open too. Australian citizens, Australian permanent residents and other foreign nationals travelling to Australia. Visitors from visa waiver countries. Unfortunately, for the bulk of you in South Africa, of course, we're not a visa waiver nation anymore. But visitors from visa waiver countries, so if you're coming from sort of UK, Ireland, etc., America, Canada, those types of countries that are visa waivers, you will be able to travel in. But more information will be available closer to the time on that one. And then accredited employer work visa holders. This may be limited to roles which pay above the medium wage, of course, but more info will be made available at the time, because as you're probably aware, the accredited employers process is currently closed, but that reopens for companies to apply for accreditation as of May this year, and as of July this year, the current legislation is stating that the only employers that will be able to employ non-New Zealand residents or citizens must be pre-approved by government, or of course using the terminology accredited. And then of course step 5, excuse me, from October the borders will open for all other New Zealand visa holders, including visitor and student visas. That's a big one. Because clearly in the overall picture of immigrating to New Zealand, there's really only 3 reasons that an application would fail. In most cases, you'd fail, God willing you wouldn't, but you fail the medical, you fail the police check, the criminal record check, or of course you fail to get a relevant job offer that meets, of course, all the requirements in force at the time. So in the old days, of course, when COVID wasn't around, literally 90% of our client base would say, fine, if I don't find a job while I'm living in my home country, I will travel to New Zealand on a general visitor's visa. On those visitors' visas, we clearly inform immigration why you're coming to New Zealand. We explain that you're coming to New Zealand to look for work, and as long as you're upfront and honest and haven't completely cut ties with your home country when you're applying for those visas, most of the time they're granted quite timeously, within sort of 2 to 3 weeks. They're valid for up to 3 months normally. And of course, that means you could, as from October, it looks like you'll be able to fly into New Zealand. If you've been unsuccessful finding work offshore, you'll be able to fly into New Zealand on a visitor's visa, the appropriate visitor's visa, of course, to look for work. And that's big news, because that would mean that final reason for not getting, of course, your work visa granted, i.e. not having the relevant job offer, means that you can go there. And as you're well aware, guys, ladies and gentlemen, that, you know, when you're onshore, you strongly increase your chances, of course, of a successful job search process. The MIQ itself is going to be sort of changed a little bit at the moment. All travellers will be given, so you're going to be going to New Zealand, and from what we're understanding, you're going to be self-quarantining for approximately 10 days. The travellers will be given 3 rapid antigen tests on arrival, and they will be required to test themselves on day 1 and then day 5 and 6. The third is an extra test for backup. So you'll then have to submit the test results directly to the Minister of Health. But we'll provide you with more information on that, you know, at a later stage. Managed isolation quarantine, which quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, has been an absolute disaster, will only be required for those travellers who are deemed high risk. And at the moment, there are, ironically enough, there are no countries that we're aware of that are a high risk category, but we'll keep you informed should this change. So while you don't have to go into managed isolation quarantine, you will have to provide a negative pre-departure COVID test. You must meet vaccination requirements, of course. You will self-isolate for a period after you arrive, and you must do the 2 rapid antigen tests during your self-isolation on day 1 and then 5 and 6, and declare your results. So in summary, if you've managed to already secure a job offer, then you could already fall into step 2 or 3. If you haven't yet obtained an offer, we urge you to get in touch with our job search team or myself at andrew@networkmigration.com. you know, myself and the team can find out what you should be doing to secure a job offer in New Zealand. So I hope that sort of brought you up to date with a little bit of current information. Please feel free to contact me either on log on to our website. All my contact numbers and email addresses are on the website, or andrew@networkmigration.com. Just send me a direct email, and we look forward to working with you in the future. So stay safe, everybody, and this is some pretty positive news that's come out of New Zealand. Ciao, and have a good weekend.